Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
It must be Christmas with all the light. And tonight's Hanukkah. Winter solstice on Wednesday. So good. So I want us to begin with the question, and just sort of be with this question. I heard it first time 30 years ago, and I'm sure you've all heard it before, this question. So just see if you have any new inner understandings. And the question is how big is your God? And you don't have to use the word God. You can, how big is your, whatever it is, your higher self? How big is the universe? How big is Brahma, Jehovah, whatever your word is, the Great Mother, how big? Because right, any word that we have is a concept. So I'm saying whatever your concept, whatever that word is, how big is it? How big is that in your world? So just be with that question. This 4 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, on November 27th, I invited our community to go on this journey of times. Many pilgrimages are in space. You go to a physical destination. And so I was asking us to go on a pilgrimage of time, where we go through time to this period of time, to the end of the month, to open up to something new in our life, to walk into the mystery, to walk into the unknown and say, where's my growing edge right now? And really, this is in preparation for 2023. Where's my growing edge? That's the mystery, because we don't know. Or if there's a pain in your life, something that you're really struggling with, what would that look like for it to be healed? Or what's my journey to heal this thing inside of me? Because we haven't had it healed yet. The mystery is always the unknown. It doesn't mean it's not unknowable. I want to be clear about mystery does not mean it's unknowable. It just means it's unknown to us right now. And the only way it's going to be known is if we step into the unknown. If we step into, I don't know. It's my favorite. When I ask a question, their first response is, well, I don't know. I love that answer, because now there's so much possibility. So we began with the mystery, and then the last 2 weeks, I almost went the opposite direction of the mystery. I talked about, and in the middle of the mystery, we can still claim that the divine love, this infinite oceanic presence that is always here with us, it's right here in this room with us right here and right now. It's never limited by time and space and mystery and by the things that we don't know. It's here, and we can claim that love in the midst of the not knowing. We can claim that divine love is with us, walking with us, in us, through us, around us, above us, below us, through our friends, through our family, through this invisible presence. It is right here, right now, carrying us through this journey of mystery, because it's that very love that's beginning to reveal what's on the other side of the mystery. It's beginning to teach us that which was unknowable to be known. If we want to be taught, we want to be taught by unconditional love, this presence. And then last week we were talking about this divine light that is also everywhere present, and it's not human light. It's a light that transcends this universe, and that so many of our non-ordinary experiences have light in it because it's a higher vibration. But it's not just raising ourselves up to light, it's allowing that light to come into whatever the mystery is, to whatever the healing that needs to happen. The way we heal is to allow that light to enter into the wound, right? We know the Rumi quote that the light enters at the wound's opening. So we invite light into them. If we don't know what if we're looking to grow and we're not quite sure what that is, we invite the light in within us. And these are mystical experiences that we all have the potential to have at any moment. And we want to, on our journey, to stay wide open to the power of this love, to stay wide open to the power of this light, that this darkness is here to reveal light that we've never seen before. I think it was last week I was also talking about the third eye, sort of that in Eastern tradition, that the third eye is considered the doorway, the gateway to the cosmic light. Even in the Bible, Jesus said, let your eye be single so your whole body is full of light. that when we're focused, when we keep our attention focused, we start to see that which normal eyes can't see. How big is our God? And it takes practice, and we have to be committed, and we show up. But there's another element of this journey that we have to we don't have to, it's just the joy of it, which is to say we're also human. We can have all these mystical experiences, but at the end of the day, we're still human. As long as we're in the body, we still have this human being that we deal with every day. You know, you've heard the Buddhist Zen statement, after enlightenment, the laundry. After enlightenment, we still get upset about things. We still have struggles. We still have problems. And that's something I really had to look at in myself, because I've had many spiritual experiences, and it was really quite frustrating that I'm still human. What's it gonna take? How big is our God? Does our divine I'm going to just use the word God. I'm not triggering anyone. It's just easier for me to say that, but whatever word works for you. Does it include all of us? Does it include all beings, but our whole being, our own journey? Those wonderful, amazing moments where you feel love just pouring through you. Revelations, light, and all of that, but the same presence that's there even when you're just in the mundaneness of life, or in the density of just being a human being and having to pay bills and to have family obligations and go to your family for holidays, and you don't really want to be there. Some of you love being there, I'm not saying, but there's also there's obligations that show up, not just in holidays, all year long. Does our divine idea embrace the mundane, and does it embrace the struggles? I have loved this past year, personally. When I was back in 1990, 93, I even remember, I had a very intense dream about the Orthodox Church. I didn't even know what an Orthodox Church was. I was describing it to someone, and they said, "Oh, that's an Orthodox Church." And it was magnetic. It was like my soul was there. But when I started learning what the Orthodox believe, I'm like, nope, I'm not going there. So it took all these years, and I've explored a lot of different ways, and somehow it was getting more and more uncomfortable, more and more to the point where I just couldn't even, I had to go. I had to explore what this was. And so this whole past year, I've been exploring. I went to classes. I went to the Orthodox. Someone suggested, well, just go to a service. I'm like, that never even dawned on me. I mean, I've been reading books, but it's safe when you read books. But to actually go to a service, and then I was taking class there and going to Vespers, and then I met with the priest, and then I just took a class at Graduate Theological Union about on the history and theology of Orthodoxy, taught by a Greek Orthodox professor. I've just immersed myself in it. And it scratched the itch that's been there all along. I didn't really feel it. It was pretty distant, but it had gotten so strong. And in doing so, by the time I got to the end of this class, so first of all, I had to repress a lot of my stuff, because they have views that I don't always agree with, but by just, shh, Harriet, listen, I learned so many beautiful things. Like, wow, there's so much beauty in here. But by the end of the class, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of I can only keep myself repressed for so long. And the joy became, oh my gosh, I love who I am. I love my journey. I don't need anyone's validation. And what I recognized by the time I got to the end of the journey, I always say how I love Jesus, but I've never had really any formal training. So I've always thought like a fake, so I say it, but I feel a little like I don't really know what I'm talking about at the same time. And I went to the Orthodox, I want to make it like it's a rational choice. It wasn't rational. But it was something deeper pulling me. But as I'm learning about the roots of Christianity, I'm like, this is beautiful, but I love the path that I've been on, and it's valid. I don't need anyone's exterior validation that what I've been doing all this years with my life and my relationship with the Christ, it doesn't fit anybody else's, and that's great. And suddenly this lightness of being started happening. I'm like, I like being me. I like this thing that I'm doing. But I wouldn't have gotten to this point if I hadn't gone through the struggle. I ignored the struggle. I mean, all you have to do is read some of the things that they believe. I'm like, of course I don't believe that. I don't need to go and examine it. I don't need to make myself that uncomfortable. I already know. But by going into the depths of my own world, of this world and their world, and marrying them and having deep conversations, and loved my classmates, loved my professor, who all are much more traditional Christian than I am, it was like to be in love with them and still realize I can be me. I didn't know that, but I knew it intellectually. That's what I mean, the concept. We have our concept. I knew what I thought, but it wasn't until I went into the depths of it that I really knew. And that's so much of what happens on our journey of life. We know a lot of stuff. If I were going to sit down and ask you, and you were just going to speak from what your head knows a lot of stuff, and we could have a lot of great conversations on all the stuff that we know. We are a very smart group of people. But to actually deeply know it in our soul, so we don't have any it's like when I recognized when I was doing practitioner work that we don't believe in sin, we don't believe in a devil, we don't believe in any of that stuff, and yet when I would work with people, especially who had traditional religious background, there was still that element of, I'm going to get in trouble. There's somehow, if I say the wrong thing, I'm going to be punished. I just had this conversation with a dear friend, even within CSL. The amount of, I've heard it since I've been in CSL. Well, I wonder if they're going to kick me out. I'm like, why would anyone kick anybody out? Everyone's welcome. There's no dogma here to say you have to believe this or you don't belong. We believe everyone is a beautiful emanation of pure spirit, unless you're hurting somebody. That's not okay. But that's sort of our one really strong boundary, is hurting other people. But everyone's accepted. But it's this old training, I'm going to get kicked out. And that's what I mean about going into, we know what we think, but we have these hidden ideas in our subconscious that still linger. And sometimes, I wasn't raised with it, but it still was in me. And we want to be warriors and adventurers, for those of you who are looking for your growing edge. So I know, and I'm just saying what I'm saying, but I know I'm mirroring what you already do. So I've spent a lot of time learning it from Yogananda and his path and going into that world. And then after really immersing myself in that, I went to Zen, and I went to a Zen just Zen temple, and was Shinra Suzuki, and just meditating the Zen way. Agape is a spiritual community with this same understanding, but it was such a different energy that I was used to. So I had to really sort of adjust there. Then I was like, I have to learn integral theory. I spent 5 years learning integral theory, which was like a whole nother world. This is what we do, right? If we come here and we know that this is how big is your God. We start looking at all these different ways. And I want to understand life from this place. I want to understand it because, yes, I understand it here. I can write a paper on it. But do I actually understand it in my soul? And to do that, we get uncomfortable. It wasn't like I talk about it now and this feeling of joy, but I was struggling. As I'm going through these classes, as I'm having these conversations, there's something in my soul that's resonating very profoundly with things that they're saying. So I can't just dismiss it and say, well, this is all stupid. I wanted to do that. It would have been so much easier, but I couldn't. Everyone else is dumb and just, sorry. No, I had to struggle with my soul, and it wasn't easy, and it took time, and it takes energy, too. It takes energy to keep your mouth shut. I want to tell you that. Jerry knows. To sit in class and just say, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything. Shh. Like, my pet peeve is when they say, well, you can't know, and I'm like, yes, you can. But anyway. By finally got to say, you can know, we can know. The mystery is not the end of the road. So, being ourselves is about great light, great love, and we have these moments of extraordinary amazingness, but we're also human, and we have struggles. And we're meant to have struggles. So I'm not talking about intellectual struggles. I'm talking about deep, soulful struggles. Sometimes we don't even understand them. And sometimes it comes around our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health. It could be in any financial health, our work life, and it could be all of them. Sometimes for some people, when it happens all at once, mortality, people that you love. I mean, the struggles come in so many forms. And so the idea is, do we think that we're supposed to be joyful, that being joyful all the time means not having struggles? And what I'm here to say is that yes, we have the love and we have the light, and that's available to us in every moment, but we also have the struggles where we can't necessarily see the love and light in that moment. But when we know that it's there, we're willing to go through the struggles, and that those very struggles are exactly what makes the joy even deeper and richer and fuller. I feel this level of self-acceptance on the other end of this year-long journey that I didn't have at the beginning of the year. I had to go through that depth, through that darkness. How big is our God? Is it willing to take us into those depths and into those darknesses? I was listening to Brene Brown, and she was saying that people are, she said, I've done so much on vulnerability and all these scary things and being open about it. She said, but what I found scares me the most and scares other people the most is joy. This was a Super Soul Sunday conversation with Oprah. And Oprah's like, I don't understand, what do you mean? Why would joy be the most terrifying thing? And she said, just imagine your parents have gone in and you see your child sleeping and they're so peaceful and you realize how deeply you love them, and what if something happened to them? And immediately that joy is just the very allowing yourself to feel that level of joy mirrors how much sadness you could feel on the other side. And so she said people are afraid to let themselves feel that joy. She was talking with a gentleman who had been married for 40 years, and he said he basically worked on keeping his life very even-keeled throughout his life, and he didn't really respond with deep joy or deep sadness, just even-keeled. And when his wife died, he said, I immediately knew, I wish I had leaned into the joy more, because those memories are the precious memories, and it still wouldn't have protected me from feeling the sorrow that she's gone. What Brene Brown was saying is that what we are afraid of is vulnerability, because when we feel joy, the vulnerability is, what happens when the joy goes away? And this happens all the time. Like, we feel joy, but a joy is a moment. A joy is a feeling. Like when at the end of this class, I'm like, I love who I am. So now am I on the ever-present path of joy, and I'm always going to feel like I love who I am every day now? No, I'm going to have other struggles. In fact, I like struggles because I always find out more about myself, right? Do you like those hard points is where we find this depth that we can't find any other way. And so what Brene Brown was saying is we have to be willing to be vulnerable in order to enjoy the joy. Isn't that interesting? I never thought of it that way. To really enjoy the joy, we also have to be vulnerable to recognize that the thing that we're feeling in that moment may not last, and often doesn't. I have a great spiritual experience. It's awesome, but it doesn't last. I'm back in my human body. I still have to deal with my life. I know things now because of that spiritual experience that I didn't know before, but I still have to deal with life. I was listening to this video on Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and whoever was narrating, it was totally fascinating. He was just talking about how he created the symphony and how it was different than a lot of the music up until then, because most of the music was very much about light and was played for churches and to recognize God and the divine. And Beethoven was in this Fifth Symphony really started saying, music is an emotional expression, and was going into the darkness. And it talks about, it starts in C minor, dun 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 dun, and it's like this ominous dun. And they was just and they went through the song and just the intensity of the emotion. And it wasn't light, happy emotion. It was going into the depths. But it's that very going into the depths, and then by the end, she goes, and it moves into then the C major. It ends with, ah. And it's like, it's this emotional, like, and you feel spent, like, oh, but you feel so good. It's like this whole thing is washed over you, and you feel it. If we're always up here, we don't have that whole deep experience. There's something about this earthly experience that I can't explain. It's hard. It's challenging and it's struggle, but there's something so profound when we allow that light to come down into the depths of our life and we feel it. We don't walk away from it. Whatever that feeling is, we feel it fully, and we allow ourselves to feel it fully. And then the other side is even sweeter. I was just having this conflict with a friend of mine this past week, and we both have been on this journey for a long time. And it was like but we were both able to feel what's going on in the moment. And it became this extraordinary, there was no defensiveness. It wasn't like, I didn't do that. It was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, but from both sides, and like, yeah, you know, I do feel that way. And I do, like, it became this, went from, to, oh my gosh, and we just like fell in love with each other even more and more deeply. Do you have those experiences when you're in a relationship where it's those very conflicts that actually draw you closer to somebody, when you're willing to walk through it and feel the feelings and be honest about it and be real about what's happening and not have to defend ourselves, but let our heart be naked? I think of the little baby Jesus, you know, that to me the symbology of the infant Christ is there's no protection. He's just an infant. Naked to the world. It's this tiny thing. He hasn't developed his mind to protect himself. There's nothing there. There's just pure light and pure love. When we can go into the darkness and feel safe to feel that light in the midst of the darkness, there's something extraordinary that happens that we can't articulate, but we know it's something different than just being up here all the time with, oh, I'm happy all the time, but it's a marriage. It's integration. So I was thinking about the third eye, and I did that for years, but I've actually brought it down to the heart, to integrate the high and the low, to be the place of integration is our heart, is that love. The heights and the depths, the widths. I think of James Norton. James Norton is a British actor on a TV show called Grantchester, it's a British TV show that was on PBS. So he's a vicar, check, like that. Detective, check, I like that. Very handsome, check. So I like the TV show. But I was watching him in a conference. It was called Talks About Diabetes, I believe. And it was a conference for people with type 1 diabetes. And James Norton has type 1 diabetes. And he was diagnosed when he was 22 years old. And he said it was very difficult. Type 1 diabetes, maybe someone here has it or your family has it. It's constant checking on your blood. He says he gives himself up to 15 insulin shots a day. So he was talking about how he did plays, making sure there was like little food everywhere, glasses of orange juice, even on the set in case he starts crashing, and has a whole set there supporting him. His sister was diagnosed when she was 9, and his mom was diagnosed when she was 58, and they've really created this community. But he said the most beautiful and remarkable thing. He said, at the time of this conference, he had this type 1 diabetes for 11 years, and he talked about how hard it was at first. And he said, but then I had this shift, and I realized it's my superpower. And he said, it's all of our superpower. He said, because it's really hard, but we can do it. And the thing that I realized is it's developed my empathy. If you can live every single day with whatever challenge that you have, you suddenly realize, start seeing it in other people. Oh, they're living with challenges every day too, and your heart just opens. And he said, I have developed a superpower. Diabetes 1 is my superpower for empathy. And he was talking to an all diabetic audience, and he said, and it's all of our superpowers. Have you ever met someone with diabetes who isn't awesome? And he said, we're all awesome because we have this incredible empathy everywhere you go. He said, you're on a train and you're giving yourself, oh, you're due too, oh, nice. And they're like, we're instant friends. Because when we start to feel this level of connection, and I know we feel it in so many community and 12-step programs and anything where we're struggling, but we have other people, there's this joy. There's this joy that can't be described. So it's not just a joy that we have on our own, it's a joy that we share with others, and it's not about being perfect. This is the key. So we're talking spiritually, the love and the light that is perfect, that there's no problems in that love, and then the ultimate love and light, and I'm not talking about human love, transcendent light, there is no problems there. There is only perfection. It is all good there. There's no suffering. There is no pain. We're not ding-dongs. I don't know why I used that word. I actually thought of a much worse word, and I just changed it as I was coming out. There's no jerks in the light. There's only loving, wonderful beings of light. But we're also all totally human, and we're here to share our humanness as well as our spirituality, because that's where joy is. Joy comes from just being and accepting who we are right now. You know, we have this it used to be called Burning Bowl, and we do it Let Go and Grow every year in December. And the ritual is we write on a piece of paper those things that we want to release from the last year, put it in the burning bowl or the dissolving bowl, let it go, release it, and then set our intentions for what we are accepting for the new year. It's awesome. You're all invited to come. But I also want to add, we don't always have to release the past year, the negative things, the struggles, because those are the very things that are helping us find out who we are. Those are the things that are taking us into our heart. And not everything that needs to be released, we need to give thanks for it. To give thanks. So I invite us as we come to the end of our little pilgrimage and for this entire year to look back at your life, including those things you might not normally describe as good, from a human standpoint, and see if you can see with the heart of the divine that loves all of us. This is what unconditional love is. It is not conditional. It's not like your life has to be good and then you're loved. It's all of our imperfections, all of our struggles, all the times we were less than we thought we should be, when we said things we wish we hadn't said, we have done things we wish we didn't do, and we're not punished for it. We're still loved. The light is still there. The love is still there. Nothing has ever been denied us. It does not withdraw and say, well, she did that, so I'm not loving her. I'm talking about the divine presence. The divine presence loves us. It never withdraws its love. So in the midst of, and the more we know that and accept that, and we do that through our struggles, when we go through these struggles and realize I'm still loved by this divine presence, it's still just as much available. That infinite oceanic love is available right now. And as we know this for ourselves and we know this for each other, we have to know it for our planet. That this planet, we can look at it and say all the challenges, every one of us could write a list of all the things that are really wrong with our planet right now and with the people in the planet. It reminds me of I love Houston Smith's quote, the problem with religion is people got involved. The problem with earth is people got involved. We're so imperfect. We're constantly screwing things up. Even saints aren't perfect. That was a great thing in my class. The teacher's like, well, saints aren't perfect. They had all sorts of bad things. We just choose not to talk about them. I can't tell you what a relief that was. It's both. How big is our divine presence? How big is our God to accept all of it? That as we go into 2023, we are still going to screw up. We're still going to struggle. We're still going to work things out, maybe different things than this year, but they're still there, and we're going to have awesome experiences as well, and we're going to have ecstatic experiences. So the whole gamut. Is our God big enough to hold it all for ourselves and for this planet, for the world? So when we're saying how big is our God and in alignment with the principles that we understand that we are one with that presence of God, the real question is how big am I? How big am I? Is my heart? Because sometimes when we say God, there's this otherness. How big is my heart to accept all of it, and just celebrate it and just give thanks? And we can be goofy and silly and crazy and still be awesome, because ultimately every one of us are saints who have a lot of imperfections. We just let those go. We find the divine in all of it. We find the divine for all of it, and we find freedom and joy. I'm going to end with a quote that I just read today, which I love. Is from Emma Curtis Hopkins, who's in the New Thought world. It's called The Teacher of Teachers. And she said, if truth is freedom and you're not feeling free, you don't know truth yet. So is the God that you have, the divine that is your heart, is it committed to truth? Because when it's committed to truth, we will feel more self-love, more self-acceptance, more love out there, more acceptance for all life. We get freer, we get joyer, and that's who we are today, in this moment. Let's pray. To begin this prayer, I just looking out at everyone. I only see divine light and divine love. And seeing divine light and divine love doesn't mean I don't see the struggles and the challenges, but knowing that those struggles and those challenges are a beautiful, essential part of the divine love. It is our very imperfections and our very limitations and our very struggles that are the heart of the divine light and love. It's why it's here on this earth. It is never leaving or abandoning us. It's only flourishing in the midst of those unknown areas, those mysteries, those challenges, those things we would rather not have. So in this moment, we think of the challenges that we have had this past year, the struggles we have had. In this moment, Michael J. Fox comes to mind, and what a superhuman he is. Whatever your struggles have been, emotional, mental, physical, financial, whatever they are, there could be many of them, there might be only one of them, just be with those struggles right here and right now. We're not going to bypass them. We're going to feel them. Some of those struggles may have been resolved, and some of them are ongoing. We know that they're going to be right there meeting us in 2023. And I invite us now, as we're feeling into those challenges that we have had and may continue to have, I invite us to welcome in and invite this healing love and light. To reveal things in the midst of those struggles and recognize those struggles are a gift right now, and we start opening our heart and our mind to be big enough to see whatever struggles that we are humanly going through, individually, in our families, with our friends, with our communities, as a citizen of this country, as a citizen of this planet. Whatever these struggles are, it's okay. It's okay to have these struggles. It's okay to feel a little fear. It's okay to not know. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be angry, jealous, envious, all those things that we want to push away. We're not pushing them away today. It's okay to feel all of these things and to know that sometimes we know how to move through it and sometimes we don't, and that's okay. So let's just be in that feeling for 1 minute of just being okay and accept our limitations in the human world, just for 1 minute. Or we're okay just as we are. Let our hearts soften, our defenses soften, our protection soften. We're okay. We're okay. Just as we are. With maybe parts of our personality we just don't like very much. It's okay. It's okay. We are okay. We are okay right now. We are okay right now. We are so, so okay. This presence and this love meets us softly and tenderly in these tender places in our heart, these uncomfortable places in our heart. This tender love is there. It's not forcing itself on us. It is just caressing and gently holding us. It's okay. We are okay, just as we are. We are loved. We are beautiful. We are magnificent, just as we are. It's okay. We are allowed to be absolutely brilliant and powerful in the midst of our imperfection. It's okay to be awesome and magnificent in the midst of our imperfection. It's okay to be a brilliant light of God, to be a saint, to be an incredible spiritual light on this planet and have these challenges. It's okay. It's okay. Say yes to yourself. Celebrate yourself. You are okay just as you are right now. You don't have to do anything, change anything, fix anything. You are okay just as you are right now. Yes. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for who we are right now in all of our earthiness and all of our spiritual magnificence. Thank you, God. This divine presence that is big enough to accept our earthiness and our brilliant, brilliant, brilliant light right now. Yes, it's okay. It's not only okay, it's fantabulous. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, divine light, this precious light that sees and knows and feels all and celebrates all. And we walk free out into the rest of the day, knowing everything is okay. We are okay. We are good. We are love. We are light. And we are imperfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is.
I walk in God in all I do. I walk in God in all